And this is the first time in, it seems like at least a couple matches that they haven't been making subs. You know, even after wins, they've been making subs. So they're sticking with this same 5-man roster the whole way through. This makes a lot more sense to me. Give the team some time to adjust from game to game, to try to learn their opponents, to try to, you know, react properly, and we'll see what they can get done. Picks and bans may be pretty important, as we have seen, you know, some things kind of fall to the wayside. As you said, Echo Fox was able to get a couple of the picks that were banned out in game 1 in game 2 and be very successful with them.
Huge. The Camille coming online exactly when it needed to. And the Blitzcrank really starting things off. Biofrost flash, they blew at like 1 minute and 30 seconds. Did come up with a kill at 5.5 just before he was about to get that flashback. He felt safe to roam.
I mean, that's what got them the first blood. That's what got Akaadian ahead. And these are all the little things that have been able to make a big difference for the team. I think that Gate did an excellent job roaming around. A lot of focus on Jax. People really kind of respecting Hauntzer's Jax, and I do believe he brought it out against Dignitas in a 2-0 loss for TSM, though. But people still obviously showing their respect over. He must be doing well with this in scrims, and people are afraid of Hauntzer on that carry champion.
It's one of those late game time bombs. I mean, how do you match that up against Camille Jax? You guys solo each other
Jax is actually very good into Camille.
Yeah.
I do think that if you want to play Camille, you should be banning Jax. I think that is a very favorable matchup. And mostly it's because of the interaction with hookshot. So when he's going for the hookshot on you, you simply press your counter strike. He stuns you, but he can't actually get any follow-up damage out onto you during it, and he will actually get CC'd out of that, and then you can return the damage. So it's very hard for him to effectively use his hookshot on you, and your scaling can match very, very well. So it's like, it becomes tough for the Camille in that 1v1.
I was wondering, it has been left up finally in this matchup. The Elise gets picked. Obviously, that will not be a Kane, but it's still fun to hover. But yeah, the Elise actually through a lot of matchups is seen on that blue side fan face.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, above Cho'Gath, above Nunu, above a lot of these tanks that we've seen some teams be very successful with, really the only person I'm seeing bring out a lot is kind of Dignitas for Shrimp, bringing out Nunu a fair bit.
Yeah.
They're having a lot of success with it, but a lot of other teams are not replicating that, are not actually bringing it out themselves. And to be fair, I think that Nunu is a champion that requires you to be pretty practiced on it. While the mechanics of it are very easy, you need to really understand where to go, where to be, how to counter jungle, like how to do these at a very, very high level, and know your limits. Because if it does fall apart, then you really don't add anything.
Yeah. Adding a little Lee Sin into this game. Akaadian switches off the Kazakhs 2 straight plays, now onto the Lee Sin as it's still available, but he is up against the Elise now. So might want to be able to match the aggression Hauntzer could be coming into his jungle with.
And we're getting back to the same kind of opportunity that TSM had in game 1, where they could have gone for a Camille here and elected not to do so. In game 1, they actually went for the Karma as that 3rd pick. Camille can match up pretty well against the Rumble, can outscale and win that 1v1, especially with jungle help. We know how good Hauntzer is on the Camille, but they are going to go for their support pick here once again, and not deciding to prioritize that pick.
Tahm Kench gets locked in. DoubleLift gets some extra safety this game.
Yeah, to me, the Tahm Kench does not make that much sense in this case. Yes, there is some CC coming out, you know, Fate's Call, and you could hopefully eat up your AD carry so he doesn't get kicked in and things like this, but it's not a Thresh, it's not like an Elise and things like this that have a really obvious kind of big long CCs that you can eat them out of, or even a Morgana. They maybe try to push them away from drafting that kind of stuff, so it still can work. And you also could be saying, okay, well, if they're not going to get Thresh, what are they going to draft? Maybe a Braum, right? Well, Tahm Kench matches up pretty well with that, so that can make some sense. Maybe a bit of a preemptive pick.
See how they ban out. Before we get to those final picks, what will be available? LeBlanc for Froggen. He might just go back to that Corki, as a safe pick for Hauntzer gets taken out of this side as well. A few more seconds left, looking possibly back at the mid lane. If they ban the Corki, he gets something else that he likes to play, and he may even just get the Talia if they don't take it on the side of TSM for the first pick.
And Bjergsen has been very happy to play that Talia. They're going to keep banning out the Lucian, which has been kind of a Froggen special. So we'll see if he's going to go right back to the Corki. And if TSM doesn't take it, very likely he will, right? There's no real reason to not just keep picking the Corki when Froggen is very comfortable on it. And it has been very effective for them throughout this series and really throughout the season. Has been one of the best picks for Froggen.
DoubleLift's pick. He begins to type. And what did he type? Patience. Oh!
Okay, Camille was not banned out in the second phase this time.
Now.
So that is a change from game 1 where Fox did actually second phase ban out the Camille. This time they decide to leave it up and TSM does go for that option. They have a strong early game jungler. They now have Camille, which is a pretty good matchup into the Rumble, especially as you scale further into the game. And another thing that is going to make it really tough for the Rumble is Tahm Kench actually roams around the map very well and can help in those side lanes. But Alistar, not a pick we see a lot.
Not at all. A little bit more lately, trying to fit a tank somewhere back into the composition when you need one on this meta. And it looks like we will finalize the pick on Team Solomid.
Galio.
10 seconds. It will be the Galio lock-in. It's going to be Bash Brothers party here for Hauntzer, Svenskeren, and Bjergsen.
And this is something that I had actually talked about from last week that TSM did. They ran this exact combo. Look for Bjergsen to constantly be ultimating to the side lane with Hauntzer. They are going to try to snowball Hauntzer against Brandini on this Camille. That is pretty much inevitable. A lot of it's going to come down to how well can Brandini play, how well can Fox play around this. Because you have two semi-global ultimates with Galio and Tahm Kench, who can both go to the Camille and try to put him ahead. You have Svenskeren, one of the best diving junglers on this Elise, who can look to try to put him ahead as well. And if Camille gets too ahead, there's no one on Fox who's going to be able to answer him in that 1v1 at all.
And this really lines up with actually what we saw TSM doing in the game 1. It was a Jarvan on that side lane with a Talia roaming down each time to take Brandini down. Like you said, now it's going to be a Camille and a Galio going to that side lane. So they keep the same kind of structure to keep playing that way within their compositions here. And now into game 3, hashtag Fox win, hashtag TSM win, as we are almost onto the Rift. Sure, Fox is feeling very good about coming off that last win. And I'm sure TSM is kind of in a middle mode right now, saying we should not have let that happen. And I feel like they're going to come out very strong on this one.
And I think TSM can point to a couple key moments in the game where they made some mistakes that they could actually fix up, and not going to have to worry about that too much as we are going to be getting into the game. But I mean, Galio, you touched on it. It's very similar kind of a role to Talia as far as being able to roam the side lanes. Obviously, very different type of champion. Yes, it is a tank instead of that mage, and different damage profiles and so on and so forth. But it's filling a similar playstyle where he can threaten the side lanes and he can try to combo up with Hauntzer and really get him ahead. He can also threaten to kind of go bot lane and try to put that lane ahead. So I think it makes a lot of sense as a pick for TSM, and it's nice that TSM has really been able to kind of move into this mode where they're able to play so many different things in the mid lane and play them effectively.
That's what we were looking for. Crowd has a fever.
Only cure. Some more cowbell, Riv.
That's what it is. Looking at the bot lane, interesting starts as we see. We've talked about it a little bit. See Wild Turtle and other gens starting with the ring. DoubleLift chooses the sword this time, and Doran's blade, not huge. You're kind of getting the same damage. Just helps your mana regen in lane, and your grenade has a bit of that ratio on it.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things where we're seeing some AD carries start to actually go AP blues and stuff. Even on some of these champions, we've seen AP blues on Jhin. We've seen that on MF. So people are starting to mix it up more. Certainly the most common is still, Doran's Blade or a Doran's Shield and just magic resistance blues. People are experimenting more with it. Certainly has its pros and cons. I mean, when you're playing against an AP threat and you have no flat MR and you don't build a Hex Shrinker or QSS or anything, you really can get shredded down if they go flat ban.
It's all about that. Who did something different? Are you running one crit rune in your jungle page? Are you going to get that kill because of the crit rune? I find that stuff super interesting when players come up with something new.
Yeah, if it gives you that advantage, it can be really, really big. And this top lane matchup is going to be pretty important. As we're going to see Brandini trying to shove in Hauntzer, but when you shove in, you put yourself in that vulnerable spot where Hauntzer can set up the ganks for Svenskeren, and tracking jungle pathing becomes that much more important because of this. We also have to remember how explosive the engage is going to be from Fox with this Alistar and Fate's Call combo. That's nothing we've seen a lot. It's only the 4th showing actually for Alistar this split. So someone who has seen some play, but not a lot.
Good pressure here from Biofrost, keeping brush control. It's easy farm though for Mash as it comes into the turret. We do not see Akaadian actually heading for Svenskeren. They're on basically the same jungle path, so it could get little spicy towards the top side here as they meet if they do decide to go for that gank and counter gank.
Akaadian going for the full clear, not something that you see that often from Lee Sin. A lot of people will actually skip the Krugs. We do see Sven doing 3-camp clear bot side, taking his red, and he could already be going up this top side. He was spotted out by the ward, but Brandini not backing off.
They might say take it because Akaadian's just on the backside. Oh, Hauntzer knows he's coming. They decide to turn it back after they see him on the ward, but it's still the fight.
What are they doing?
It looks like Hauntzer didn't want that, and Svenskeren went right back in to try to kill Akaadian.
I mean, they were completely on a different page there.
Yeah.
You see Hauntzer actually going for Akaadian. Svenskeren is going back in onto Akaadian again after Hautzer's running out. Like, they are completely split on targets. The Cocoon is used on Brandini, while Hauntzer used the hookshot on Akaadian. Then Hautzer's running out while Svenskeren's going in. That was a mess from TSM.
Nice lockup by Gate. He gets the roar in.
Either way, another first blood over for Echo Fox, and good job by Akaadian to be able to pick that one up. He has been able to get the early advantage in the jungle every single time, but I mean, Akaadian is spotted out. They know that this is coming, so look what Hauntzer is doing. He is going back to peel over and attack Akaadian. Then Svenskeren goes all the way in as Hauntzer is just trying to run out, really. It doesn't look like he wants to fight at all, and he just gets absolutely melted there.
That was almost perfect, too, for Brandini. He just Flame Spitter overloaded and was able to get all that extra damage in. It's perfect timing for them.
I mean, you're so squishy on the Elise when your Repel is already down, your Cocoon has already been used. Like, what can you actually get done there, right? Not a lot.
Good attack by Hauntzer. He needed to get that shield back for the magic damage. But still, Harpoon after Harpoon pushes Hauntzer back to his turret. Teleport is still up for him, but he's going to have to use it to get back. As Bjergsen gets some aggression in the mid lane. Great taunt flash to get out, but Akaadian's pressure a little better here from lane to lane.
Certainly is. I mean, having that better pressure push on. We do see that Svenskeren going to catch him out.
Ooh, this is how fast it turns, though. The moment you think you're safe, the other team tries to grab the advantage. He's able to get out. Quick little safeguard to get himself back into a position
he needs to be careful. He could actually get eaten up. Had that root hit, he would have gotten actually eaten up there.
Yeah.
And, may have been in a lot of trouble. That is a good combo. I mean, if you can actually get the 2 stacks, Jhin roots you up, you can apply a 3rd stack and then utilize your Devour, and that's almost always a summoner or a kill in the early game if you can actually get one of those off.
It's like the reverse Jinx Tahm Kench lane. Yeah. You eat him last instead of spit him out onto the stun.
There you go.
Or the lockup.
Bot lane doing very well for TSM. They have been consistently throughout this series. Has to be said. They have been able to always open up these big CS advantages. Yes, Echo Fox often is able to then kind of minimize it or catch back up, but still, you never want to be 23 CS down on the first base, right?
You don't?
Like, no, you don't. And I mean, especially because that first buy is that much weaker then, right? Like, yes, a couple longswords is not a bad buy, but DoubleLift is able to get his refillable. He's able to get a lot more there.
Wow, the rinse and repeats. They just kind of walk into these engagements. And Svenskaren's going to be able to do the same thing. Huge damage coming into Akaadian. Bjergsen said, can we wait this one out? And Sven was definitely on board on the same page this time.
Yeah, he was there and able to come in and take down Akaadian. Biofrost is here now as well. Froggen could be in a little bit of trouble. Will back off. And that was just simply a case of not having enough damage. Like, they had the CC and Gate is kind of locking him down, but Froggen was not there. Had Froggen been there, that would be a great play to go for. You know, attacking Bjergsen on this flashless Galio, but he's still very tanky, even just with the passive damage reduction when you're channeling your taunt. That plus Courage of Colossus is going to make him pretty hard to actually take down. So the fact that they didn't have Froggen there meant they didn't have enough DPS in the tank to actually get a kill.
Let's see this one more time.
So, I mean, the CC is actually charged up. He's chaining his CC very well, knocking him back in. This is all great, but Akaadian doesn't have the damage to actually finish him off, and if you cannot burst him down, they can't kill him at all.
Squad of minions there as well.
Yeah.
That's going to do a bit more damage. They take down Akaadian, so he gets a kill and a death, but Svenskeren gets himself back on the board with the same as they continue to hit the same clip in the jungle. However, on opposite sides this time, looks like they're going to give a little bit of safety to Akaadian as he tries to get a roam in. Nope, he's going for Scuttle. Wrong call. They did swap lanes, though, putting Mash and Gate towards that top side.
Yeah, trying to shut down Hauntzer maybe a little bit in this 2v1. They also have Elise up here. They could look to try to set up a dive, but you see Tahm Kench, Biofrost running up here very quickly. Svenskeren is coming up too, so they are looking to back up their top laner, and it was definitely an important kill for Svenskeren to get. both for confidence and just kind of keep him relevant as far as the gold game goes. But this is a pretty smart swap. Mash and Gate were losing the 2v2, so just go straight up to top, get this damage down on the turret, and try to find some sort of an advantage.
Is the Cloud Drake yet? Or next, I should say, to start things off, so that'll just hang out for a while. Back to lane goes Froggen. He's going to be zooming back this time, almost coming out with the package. Mid lane coverage, actually 3 members here for Echo Fox. So they look like they're going to try to swap the lane back. They're just saying, hey, we'll get a bit of damage on the top side. Then we're going to go bot and swap Brandini in. And he may be able to take that down himself as we go ahead and fight Hauntzer in the bot side.
A little bit late on the swap, though, and the wave didn't actually get fully pushed into the turret. So Brandini just kind of stacked up a wave for Hauntzer to actually farm there. And then goes top, where he's going to probably lose most of, if not all of his wave. So they are a little bit slow on their actual lane assignments and on their swaps. And if we can look up to the top side, yeah, we're going to see that the whole wave is actually going to go down before he gets up there. They're going to be losing some turret damage. But eventually, in this 1v2, he can actually throw his equalizer down to clear out a wave. That's what he's trying to do. So Biofrost is trying to zone him out. And he will be able to clear out the wave. So they're hoping that that gives them enough time to actually then knock down the turret on the bot side.
Still looking for that first turret blood. It's such a back and forth in this one, and they're gonna have to wait for the minion wave. Froggen being chased in mid lane now. Hextech Ultimatum is gonna keep him very locked in. Hero's entrance from Bjergsen. It looks like they may be able to lock this one down, but he gets out. Flash Valkyrie gives him enough distance in that aggression. Hold around TSM's resources, and first turret goes to Fox.
Echo Fox able to pull it off. I mean, despite losing that 2v2 bot lane, they do manage to have the Rumble clear out the waves, buy them enough time to get that first turret. They have fallen down kind of and stayed at the deficit in the CS, but despite that, getting the earlier turret is going to be nice for them, and they're actually dead even, a little bit up in gold, maybe 50 gold, 100 gold, whatever. Either way, things are looking pretty good for Echo Fox in their early game, and TSM also going to be pretty happy about this. Anytime you can have a relatively passive game, as long as Hauntzer is getting farm on this Camille, like that's really going to be their big win condition that they're looking at.
Any of that CS discrepancy right now is just to DoubleLift to Mash. Everybody else is near even across the board. Maybe 1 or 2 CS as they continue to farm out and damage each other in lane. It's the game we were not expecting. I should say series here from Echo Fox as well, but TSM towards the end of the split also starting to slide a little bit themselves.
Yeah, I mean, at least yesterday, right? You know, this weekend you can certainly say has not been their best. I mean, even if you win this series, you saw how well some of these other teams were able to deal with Echo Fox, how easy they made it look. And TSM is having a pretty highly contested series against Echo Fox. So Echo Fox can be happy with that.
Yeah, credit to them.
And they could still take this series, right? This could be an 0-2 weekend for TSM, which really would be tough for them and kind of hurt their chances for that first place finish. You know, they certainly want to buy, and there are 3 teams right now that are kind of right up there, Immortals, CLG, and TSM, and getting that playoff bye can be big.
See what the spikes and the caps are coming into game. It's been a bit slower on the kills here to start. At this point, Froggen last game had a few kills, over 120 or so CS. A better clip. You can see how things have kind of calmed down.
I mean, Froggen was already done his Triforce like a minute ago in the previous game because he had picked up 3 kills and had all that farm. Certainly not that accelerated pace this game, but he's still doing well for himself, farming it out quite well. And is going to be looking to scale up here. Hauntzer going straight for the Triforce this time. You often see people actually go Tiamat into Triforce on the Camille to have that additional wave clear, but he wants to go straight towards the Triforce, and that will give him more 1v1 power against Brandini on this Rumble when he does complete it. So definitely going to be a scary point in time for Brandini when that's actually completed.
He is playing this bot lane as well, much, much safer. Bjergsen without enough time to roam down, dealing with Froggen in mid, and Brandini's been able to stave off what kills actually got TSM very much ahead in game number 1. Hauntzer looks like he's gonna get locked up, popped up, and knocked down in the end on this one. A 3v1, a bit too much. And that's only 26 seconds for him. TP is up to get back.
Yeah, pretty far up there without proper vision in the river. So he is gonna get taken down. Nicely done by Echo Fox to pick him off. Fortunately, they couldn't give the kill over to Mash. Would have been nice to get that onto the Kalista. Wasn't able to really get involved and pick that up. But they are going to look to try to pressure the turret. I mean, the turret is very low, so they want to try to knock this one down. But they know Bjergsen can roam top. They know everyone else is missing on the map, so they do have to show that respect over to TSM that they can respond to this fight. And it's a pretty straightforward one. The ward not actually spotting Lee Sin go into the bush, so Hauntzer thought he was backing off with plenty of time, but the ward was just misplaced a little bit. Had it been a bit further out, he would have actually spotted entering that brush, and maybe he gets away. Either way, it's going to be tough, I think, as Akaadian still had his flash and everything and could have committed that too.
Again, Tracker's Knife for him, so the team can keep the vision on the map, but that is won now by TSM this game. Svenskeren's Elise in this early game has been a bit more abundant from lane to lane, maybe not with the pressure, but kind of finding out and tracking Akaadian to make sure TSM has that macro.
Yeah, certainly trying to do his best to fight for vision against Akaadian here, and both junglers are going to be going that Tracker's Knife. And it's always really nice on Lee Sin because it's both kind of the offensive and the defensive option. Yes, you can get vision, but you can also use these wards to actually pull off your aggressive plays, and that's why people pretty much always will go for this. You used to see people sometimes go like chilling or challenging smite, and then get a sightstone with it, but that's very, very rare these days.
That's a very early adaptive helm from Bjergsen to come in. Interesting buy.
I mean, it's going to work
Still
against
gonna help.
Corki, you know, with the Gatling gun, also
Equalizer.
With, you know, the equalizer and all the rumble damage, plus you know, some of those repeated rockets, I suppose.
Oh, chomps him up. Not what's for dinner this time. Looks like he should be able to get out. His ult's just about to wear off. They may be able to finish him if Fate's Call is pulled in, just to be sure, as they had that timer as well on the side of Fox.
Yeah, they were hoping they didn't have to use it, but they end up having to expend both of the ultimates. So some of their playmaking ability is down. TSM is pushing, and the Rift Herald has been dropped. They're actually TPing at the same time to the bot side. They're going to try to pick off Brandini. This is the two-man solo lane play that TSM always is going for.
Fighting right on top of it. Bjergsen with the adaptive helm. Is he healing? No, I'm just kidding. But he's absolutely not taking any of that damage with his early shield. Hauntzer able to pick that one up. There's the Bash Brothers squad of Bjergsen and Hauntzer to Brandini in the side lane, just like game one.
Yeah, and I mean, Bjergsen, he uses the TP, but he still has his rank 2 ultimate.
Yeah.
So he can actually utilize that to get back to mid lane if they were looking for a fight, or he can utilize it again later to repeat that gank. And you also saw how he backed off and wasn't trying to get the last hit for the kill. Wanted to donate that over to Hauntzer, and TSM looking to start up this turret. Will be able to knock it down as Xbox backs off.
Yeah, they try to adapt here by sending Froggen top, but saying don't get engaged on in mid. Be very scary if we do. It seems like they hold off and engage themselves. That's the ultimate down for Gate still. They felt like they could get maybe leaving kills as TSM were going to straggle out one by one.
Yeah, I guess they were hoping that TSM was more kind of staggered on their bases. Maybe that some of the people had already backed off, but Gate goes in. Mash cannot save him with the Fate's Call. Both those ultimates were down from the earlier play, and that's just a free support kill donated over with the Mountain Dragon coming up. So TSM could look to make a play around this. Hauntzer's on the top side, but has his TP, and Bjergsen coming from base has the hero's entrance.
Scryer's Bloom sees everyone but Gate. They know he's actually just basing from that fight. And it looks like this Drake.
TSM can take this fight, though. I mean, they're going to walk in, and this could be a tough exit for Equifox. We'll see if they can get out.
Froggen just uses Valkyrie to try to dodge out that cocoon, so he's actually in a bad spot. Flash forward, headbutt pulverize. That's Svenskeren coming back down. Great job by Bjergsen to absorb the front of the fight, and Biofrost as well. Fox hasn't been able to find too much, but TSM is also kind of left with nothing on this fight. Dragon does go to Fox. TSM may not stop. The red carpet's laid out. Coming in from Brandini. Are they going to fight on it or fight around it? DoubleLift now in the front. A very scary spot. And Hauntzer takes that place for himself.
Really well played fight from both sides, actually. Yeah. TSM so much patience playing around the equalizer, avoiding that. And Hauntzer, though, may get picked off here. He's trying to get out.
Everybody's going to get out in time. Bjergsen with no pop-up on his entrance. And again, they absorb a few more of the ults. It may make it safer for Fox to stay a little longer.
Yeah, you can see how effective Gate was against Bjergsen on this Galio, actually headbutting him out multiple times and he's trying to channel up that taunt. So doing a good job denying some of that crowd control coming in.
Actually a really nice lock-in. You always see you think of a Ken and you're like, oh, Janna's good against that. But you haven't really seen that Alistar Galio matchup, and it is working fantastic to keep him at range of that taunt. He gets a little bit of armor for himself, Glacial Shroud, as well as that cooldown. So Bjergsen stacking up a lot of just very helpful utility items for himself. He's going to be big soon.
Yeah, I think he can go straight to the Frozen Heart. There's double AD carries on this team.
Right.
Using that attack speed will be very, very effective, and it's not going to be bad against Akaadian by any means. So a super strong item, and it does get you very heavily up there in the CDR, so you can make those plays and you can look for those roams a lot more often.
And the Andries, a bit more ability power for Brandini. His equalizers has actually been very good throughout these games. And making sure he can keep himself at least the top of a situation that goes wrong. And Knight's Vow already coming out as well for Akaadian. He's had it for a bit, but now they get a bit more safety for their team.
That's an interesting buy. You rarely see Akaadian go for those kind of really defensive, supporty builds on someone like we've seen this early. Most players are just rushing towards a Black Cleaver, especially with a couple early kills on the team. But I think this build makes a lot of sense, especially because you can have Gate go for a Knight's Vow as well. I think that the build you want is you want one Knight's Vow for Froggen, one for Mash, and you actually double Knight's Vow these AD carries, and that's extremely, extremely strong. Because if you can keep Froggen and Mash alive in the fights, that's your sustained DPS. Yeah. That's your ticket to really winning the fights. And it actually does make you quite a bit tankier too, not just because of the stats, but because you're getting healed for a percentage of the damage they deal. So it's a very effective item.
Look at Bjergsen, he's ready to take out Brandini.
For the engage.
But they aren't down there. They're in the mid lane. Gonna be hard to take down Biofrost. Puts on that hardened skin, but he is going down in the end. Bjergsen a little late to get to the fight as they were gonna try to take down Brandini on the bot side.
Hauntzer trying to dive
here. That is
here.
Still actually happening. Brandini did make his way to the lane, seeing that fight, thinking it was safe. And once again, rinse and repeat, going after him. Fox is gonna keep getting more though off of this.
Yeah, we'll see if they can continue to push. If they can't, I say this is very good for TSM, and this is the combo we expected them to go for. This is the combo they are emphasizing. Now a couple kills onto Hauntzer, and he's going to be at that tier 2 very soon. No one is responding from Echo Fox yet, so could be tough.
Spider right in his face, could he get that
coming
shot off? Hauntzer is going to stay as well for his fight. And that's Gate going down very slowly. There's Brandini finally back to base. What does TSM decide to do off of this? It's going to be Fox grabbing the vision so they know if it is going to be a Baron.
And Hauntzer, not only does Bjergsen help him get that kill, he gives him solo gold on both turrets, it looked like. So much gold going the way of Hauntzer, and Bjergsen really focusing on getting him ahead. Here's the play in the mid lane once again. Nice engage from Mash. They're looking for DoubleLift, but DoubleLift is playing it pretty far back, and they can only actually get over to picking up Biofrost, since Gate didn't have his flash available, and then kill on Biofrost. But meanwhile, in the bot lane, Hauntzer, such an easy setup. You land that, you hit the ultimatum, he cannot exit at all. So the Galio ultimate comes in for free, burn him down. Bjergsen just starts heading back to the team. Solo gold on that turret, solo gold on the second turret. Now Hauntzer has gotten a lot of gold into this build and going to be working towards likely that Titanic Hydra. Could go for the Ravenous as well, like Brandini did last time. Yeah. Most people will go for Titanic just for that kind of added tankiness in a team fight. Because Ravenous Hydra leaves you very squishy.
The Talia, the Galio, almost kind of saw it in the Xerath when they tried to get a little bit of long range out of Bjergsen, but him being able to go back and forth to the side lanes is just controlling the macro for TSM so well as they now start to jockey for the top side of the map.
Echo Fox needs to start Baron now because they're not actually answering Hauntzer, so their only option is to start up the Baron. They need to try to get Hauntzer to TP through this fight. If TSM can push them off without him coming, he will just go for the base, but instead they're going to TP him in. They're going to look for the fight.
Equalizer down. Gate says, I'm going in first. Froggen puts himself right next to Hauntzer for the Hextech ultimatum. Froggen getting help from Akaadian. They kick back Hauntzer. The kills are coming in as Biofrost is low. DoubleLift flashing over the wall, putting himself in the middle of the fight with the rest of the team. If they're all there, they're all going to be safe, and they start picking up the rest of the kills. Mash, the only one left, and DoubleLift with the triple kill. And the ace on Echo Fox.
They do kill Svenskeren, but it doesn't matter. There's no one left alive here, so they're just going to start up this Baron. Biofrost can simply Tahm Kench ultimate right back to it, and these guys are eventually going to knock down this Baron, I think. I don't know if they're calling it off, deciding that they can't do it in time, because Brandini does have his teleport, so they want to be a little bit wary of that.
Can't wait to see that again. 10 flashes. Look at the cooldowns. Almost blown at the exact same second.
It's an explosive team fight. Again. But look at that burst out on DoubleLift. Froggen gets such a good chunk, and this gives them the confidence that they can take the fight. The equalizer thrown there over onto DoubleLift almost burns him down, but no one from Echo Fox can actually get to the backline. Bjergsen buys a lot of time, zoning Mash out, kind of pushing in here, and then as these guys start getting lower, they flash in. It actually, was that a kick over onto Galio, over onto Froggen? Looked like
they kicked back Hauntzer from that position of
So
Froggen.
it was just the flash then. The flash taunt over onto Froggen. As soon as he goes down, the fight is pretty much done. But DoubleLift full commitment going over that wall.
It's a heck of a lot of damage from Svenskeren. He got all the spiders, the volatile spiderling in there, the entire team damage.
It's pretty rare that you see rumble out damage. As we're gonna watch Brandini get outscaled.
Just a bit.
Feels bad, man. It's at that point. There's not much he can do in the 1v1. He needs to know where Hauntzer is, or he can't be out there like that. You have to be by a turret. You have to be with a teammate. This is the goal for TSM this whole game. Get Hauntzer to the point where he cannot be 1v1'd anymore. They have arrived in the late game. And now Hauntzer going to be knocking on the door of this inhibitor turret. Someone has to answer him, or they're just going to give up that turret.
Looks like they gave it to Froggen. Akaadian's going to make his way towards mid. He said, let's put the crowd control together. Maybe they can kick one of these members back. Hopefully not being Bjergsen, but they're going to kick right to the faces of Echo Fox, not even giving Akaadian a chance. Gate, close to going down. Winds of War sweeps the rug out from under his feet, and Akaadian's going to be the next one locked up by the Deadly Flourish, gets himself to a safeguard. And this second tier turret goes down. They didn't even need Hauntzer to really start this one off. He just flanked to boot.
Yeah, that's a great dive from TSM. As soon as Froggen shows up bot, they execute the dive. They know that one man is dead, one man is bottom. That makes it a 5v3. The clean engage there from Bjergsen makes it an easy couple kills, end the turret, and TSM getting even more gold in their pockets. They have vision control around the Baron, and they definitely are in full control of this one.
Could be just about time to do the dance. I don't believe they'd go to take it. I mean, Akaadian can fly over the wall. They already know about losing Barons within this series, but this fight, TSM did not wait.
Yep, as soon as you see that show of Froggen on the bot side, Svenskeren with a really nice cocoon, threaded in there, nails it onto Mash, and the dive is underway. They take out Gate. They've already killed off the bot lane, and that means the turret is easy pickings here for TSM. You're going to be able to knock that one down as well, but it's Echo Fox looking for a pick.
Relentless. That could be the way Fox gets back in.
Oh, they're going to keep going for more.
A great repel. Gate misses on the Fate's call as he was pulled in by Mash. Now the answer. Hextech ultimatum to the bot lane, and he's going to get pushed out immediately. Hauntzer has to get the safety. Bjergsen goes in. Two-man taunt, and the back line is trying to deliver over the shoulder of Bjergsen's tank wall. Brandini gets himself into a sticky situation, and Echo Fox cannot control the late game fights.
Yeah, Brandini was split off from the team, and now TSM is going to continue to chase, knock down another member. The first pick goes to Echo Fox, but it's TSM that comes out on top.
Cleaning up the waves now in the mid lane. It's just going to be TSM feeling pretty good about the map pressure they have. A few more setups like this, and they will be fully inside the base of Echo Fox. Echo Fox, though, not giving up. The moment they have a bit of vision to themselves, they'll use that advantage. We just saw it.
Yeah, they definitely got to keep looking for these plays, but TSM TPing in both members.
Oh,
they're looking to catch Froggen, or maybe even Akaadian.
Got the TP into the ult. The Galio ult is actually down. Bjergsen just walking over, so he gets to kind of tango with Froggen for a little bit, but Fox is so all sorts, they can't even react to one play like that.
And get the kill out of Akaadian. Now they can go to Baron, and they'll go straight over for it, knowing that it's not a 50-50. The jungler is already down. We'll see if they can secure this one with Svenskeren.
I'm gonna say yes. Unless
think?
Gate comes in, Mash can't get any javelins. Bjergsen says you're getting taunted or you're not getting any closer. Baron goes down. They're actually able to turn on the fight. A few members left. Straggling for Fox here. Could be the first ones to go down. Fate's call keeps Mash alive. Hauntzer again to the back line. One objective for him. Disrupt what's happening in the back for Fox, and he keeps doing it. Bjergsen's able to follow up just after, and TSM full control of this game now.
Yeah, TSM, such a nice play there. Big item completions came in. They got the Ravenous Hydra. They got the Stone Plate. A lot of big buys came through. They executed double teleport play, kill off Echo Fox's jungler, and they're able to transition that into a very easy Baron and then a team fight win, and now they are so far ahead. They just need to play patiently. Give Hauntzer time to decide lane. Brandini does have the teleport. There's no chance he can 1v1 anymore. So really the only way TSM loses this is if Echo Fox finds, like a 5v4 play. They just need to play patiently and not get engaged on, because it's thousands of gold ahead just on Hauntzer. Like, he's 3 levels up and so far ahead, and this is good target selection from Hauntzer. Go for the jungler. The follow-up comes in from the Jhin route there on DoubleLift. The ultimate came in from Biofrost, like collapsing from all sides. That was really, really well done.
Head towards the top.
And I mean, once the jungler is down, they know they can go straight to Baron. Echo Fox doesn't feel that they can give it up, so they're trying to actually challenge and hope for some sort of a miracle fight. But TSM able to actually zone them out pretty heavily here. Bjergsen goes and plays blocking duty along with Biofrost while the rest of the team closes this out. And then Bjergsen stone play into the middle of the team fight. He's just going to take almost no damage in there, and just no way that Mash can actually punch through this massive front line. And Hauntzer really playing this very well against the heal tactical sweep, and now they're diving on a Brandini. Lost half his health in a hit.
That was ridiculous. Hauntzer coming in with that Triforce hit, and his teammate being finished up, able to just shred down Brandini, even through a scrap shield. TSM toying on the front doorstep of Echo Fox's base here in Game 3, just sub 30 minutes. Gate, being the tankiest one on the team, keeps starting these fights at 10% health when his ult goes off. And that's just not going to continue to help here. They need to be the ones initiating. TSM just won't give them the chance at this point.
No, they definitely won't. They're pushing in. I mean, Froggen's still very strong. He has a lot of farm here. He is on 3 items, but he needs more. And Gate's going to go in, but I think that's a one-way trip.
Froggen's actually about 100 gold up on Bjergsen and could put out that damage. He just needs to be able to get somewhere on the front line. It's so scary.
They did burn down Sven, so they at least got the kill on Sven, that Deathfire touch, and equalizer damage coming through. And even though he got eaten up by Biofrost, he goes down, so that buys them some more time. And they are trying to get to this point where they're really, really strong. We'll see if they can actually make it there.
Weather the storm.
I mean, it's just so tough, because even if you win these team fights, the scaling just kind of goes more and more in the favor of Hauntzer in this side lane. And we've already seen Brandini can't even come close in a 1v1 now, so it's only going to get worse for him.
Yeah, he got it. Svenskeren got Dragon. So looking at what they can do, Fox has that building up equalizer. Looks like it's going to be a Void Staff next. And might be able to lay that down just past Svenskeren and Bjergsen. Don't worry about what they're going to do. Make sure DoubleLift has to walk away, right?
Yeah.
Maybe eating up and spit back over the equalizer, but you're denying him some of his damage. You just need to buy those few moments.
And hey, I mean, if you can get the Void Staff on Froggen and Brandini, that's a big deal, right? That's a lot of extra damage that's going to be coming through for the team. Maybe then you can start to hope to burn through this front line. You know, once Mash has his Lord Dominic's, which just got completed, and once Froggen has his Void Staff, that gives them some kind of penetration to actually maybe kill Bjergsen, because for now he's pretty much untouchable.
Is this the kickback? Akaadian almost looked like he wanted it. Froggen from the side, a good hit coming in from Gate, but Bjergsen not taking much damage. Akaadian doesn't get to look at the fight as he gets soloed by Svenskeren on the side with a bit of help from the team. And now the hits on again to Gate, going down at the beginning as the biggest one on the Rift. TSM has the priority in their eyes. Now it's Froggen. Hextech Ultimatum drops him down, and it's going to be Brandini following quickly after TSM putting the final touches as they go to the bot lane.
Yeah, push it in through bot lane. The inhibitor's already down. That is going to be that for TSM. They're looking to take it 2-1 over Echo Fox.
22-7 overall on this one, just getting over that 30-minute mark. Mash doesn't want to get eaten up by Biofrost, and TSM getting taken to 3 games on this one by Echo Fox will find that yellow brick road and head all the way to the Nexus. Taking it down, they take down Echo Fox 2-1.
Good finish there for TSM in game number 3, playing very well. Really, the bot lane, I think, shined for TSM throughout this series. Always seemed to get very, very far ahead. We saw DoubleLift have a great game, but a lot of it just comes down to how the solo lanes are playing for TSM. The fact that Bjergsen is constantly going to the side lane, putting Hauntzer ahead, and that Hauntzer had the scaling advantage in this 1v1 meant that once Bjergsen got him enough ahead, there's nothing that really Echo Fox can do to actually match him in that 1v1 and put them at such a disadvantage on the map that TSM was able to utilize that.
Right, I think Echo Fox identifying that kind of early game they can find a foot in the door. It comes from playing their own game. The Blitzcrank play, back to the Camille up top for Brandini, doing things in the early game that TSM is usually, you know, scrimming against other teams where you're in the laning phase, right? These two teams were the lowest percentage of first turrets taken. So for Echo Fox to do things in the early game probably threw TSM off pretty dang good.
Yeah, I mean, especially because Echo Fox had not been having those successful early games in the last couple of weeks. They had been struggling, you know, bringing out some different support picks with the Blitzcrank and the Alistar, trying to mix things up a bit. The Alistar certainly not that effective, though, as 0-7 and 5 for Gate. He was having a rough game, and Brandini definitely having a tough one here on the Rumble, too. 1 and 7 definitely doesn't feel that good, but it was a lot of credit to TSM, I think.
It was a big focus, right? It was either the Jarvan Talia playing in the bot lane. Bjergsen had a very fast way to get down, or it was we just saw the Camille and the Galio, which they've already run before, but they're playing whatever composition can then, once that side lane becomes a solo, play that 2v1, 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 and get Bjergsen if he didn't, or get Bjergsen fed if he didn't get anything during laning phase.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to say,
or Hauntzer.
It's pretty rough going up against a team that can play the same styles and the same strategies with so many different picks, because it's very hard to stop them from doing what they want to do. Maybe Echo Fox is regretting, you know, the Rivington ban in the second round, you know, instead of the Camille. They banned it out the first game. This time they let it through, and we see why people ban it so much.
I believe we do have the endgame replay one more time, as it was much different than last time. It was just kind of TSM taking control, and Akaadian gets a little hit out here, not expecting Hauntzer.
I mean, look at all the damage that Bjergsen doesn't take. Like, he's still at full health.
Yeah.
Froggen was hitting him pretty much that whole time. There's just no way for them to actually get through the front line until they have, you know, all the armor penetration and magic penetration that they need. Even then, I just don't think that they were really going to be able to win this game from the point they were in, as long as TSM played it out well, and they played it very, very well, I think, from their lead. So all credit to TSM for having those massive advantages in the game and being able to close it out.
As well, we kind of see in picks and bans where they may have like been a little lackluster. Obviously, this could be a trap game for them, seeing what they have to go on to do, but definitely need to see that these games don't actually give them too many problems, because this is uncharacteristic. Yeah, this week has been a little shaky, but we expect these guys to come out very strong and be one of the top teams, as we said.
Definitely. I mean, TSM is trying to show their playoff form, right? They are not looking to just pick up a win against Echo Fox. They are looking to dominate Echo Fox. They lost against Dignitas. They had, you know, a 2-1 series. Yes, it's a win, but it's not what they were hoping for this weekend going into playoffs and trying to prove they're the best team in North America.
Well, let's hear from them. To hear more about that series, let's check in with Degon and the newest member of the 1,000 Kill Club.
That's right. I am joined by the mid laner for TSM. It's Bjergsen. My man, 1,009 kills. Does it feel as great as your first one?
I mean, it feels pretty good. I realized I got over 1,000 kills actually a couple months ago, if you count in my kills in Europe when I played in the EU LCS, but reaching this milestone just in NA LCS exclusively obviously feels really good.
So how does getting 1,009 past 1,000 kills in the regular season in North American LCS prove like how dominant you've been able to stay on top of throughout your whole career?
I mean, I could also just be kill stealing a lot. It's kind of hard to say whether it's because I'm carrying a lot of games, but obviously when you're in a carry role like DoubleLift and I, you're going to get a lot of kills usually, and I've just played so many games. 1,000 kills is a lot to even think about.
It's definitely a lot. Let's take a step back and talk about your match earlier in the week against Dignitas. You had a tweet that said, you know, you guys were a little bit further behind. Big props to Dig. What changed between that game and this game against Echo Fox?
We just have to think out some of our picks, especially when we played against Dig in the second game. They had a really good counter pick for our bot lane, and they pretty much just choked us out using that bot lane the whole game, having pressure and having item advantages. So it was mostly just about like what champions can we pick to make sure we're not getting counterpicked or they're getting this early pressure, because we saw a lot of Cinderhulk junglers in scrims and in other regions as well. But in these games, we're playing against a lot of Kha'Zix and against Dignitas. We played against Graves, so it was a little bit different. They played kind of a different style, and we weren't prepared for that.
And one of the big things that helped you win today, you went back to the TSM Galio in the mid lane. Talk to me a little bit about that pick and why you guys have really stuck with it.
I mean, I think it's just obviously a really powerful pick. It has a really high win rate in Korea. When I watch the games, the champion just looks extremely dominant. It has so much pressure, and it's so safe. So it was just a champion that, regardless of community backlash, is something I wanted to continue to put time into, because I knew that once I and my team masters this style, this is something we're really good at, getting pressure through mid and extending it to making plays in the side lane. And I think we finally got to the point where people will see us pick Galio, and they're like, yes, TSM pick Galio. So it's a little different now than before.
Well, congratulations to you. Well done on your victory against Echo Fox. For more on this series, let's send it over to Dash and Mark at the Analyst Dojo.
Thank you very much, D-Gon. TSM clinching their playoff spot with their 2-1 victory here over Echo Fox and narrowly avoiding their first 0-2 week since spring's split of 2016. So, of course, that record still persists for them. But within this, I think there's a lot to unpack, both from a champion select perspective, from, hey, where is TSM in their power ranking right now as a team? And then conversely, what is our opinion of Echo Fox? So let's work through this one at a time. We heard the Galio discussion. Galio finds its way back into the mid lane here. What are your thoughts on how this champion select played out?
Overall, I'm surprised a little bit at the lack of Galio so far in 7-14. I think some teams have seemingly, it tends to happen. You refocus on something new and new shiny. You're like, oh, I want to try this thing out. And then you kind of forget about Galio. And there are some bad top lane matchups for it. That's why I was starting to lose favor up there when things like Gnar, Kled, Renekton, J4, all these physical damage dealers were bullying it a little bit. But mid lane, it's always been fine. I think it fits very well in the meta where you might start seeing more tanks in other positions. And he just kind of fits that style where he's going to roam and make side lane plays. He's another initiation tool. And if you have a Maokai, what's more annoying than a Galio coming on top of it? So I think there's a lot of comps that can still work with Galio that we just haven't seen yet.
Exactly. Okay. And so while I'll admit, we're mostly still uncertain about 7-14 and what is the established meta. Again, I had the opportunity to talk to Mike Young during these games in the back years. He's preparing to join the cast with us a bit later. But I got to speak to him a little bit about what he thinks the meta is shaping up. And he kind of confirmed some of our suspicions, which is that teams just don't have a good read yet on what is actually OP. And that's why we're seeing so much experimentation. But if there's one thing I can say confidently now, is that if you see Jhin picked early in a rotation in Champion Select, just pick triple tank. Don't do this, whatever the heck this is. Don't do this. Pick 3 tanks, make them useless.
I can see a world just to play devil's advocate.
Do it.
Where
Play devil's advocate.
And I'm still gonna be wrong at the end of this. But you can't give up your whole early game to be like, let's comp around Jhin, because then
that is a good point.
You can sacrifice your jungle, you can sacrifice your top lane, your mid lane, just to stop something in the bot lane, and then it's like, well, that's not even an issue anymore because you're losing these other lanes.
Right.
I still don't think that's the case because you're taking the Rumble early. I actually don't think Rumble's that that strong of a champion right now.
That feels to me like a Brandini thing, specifically with Echo Fox as well. He has played this champion a ton.
And I don't get me wrong, I think Rumble's still fine in the right situation, but I don't think it's a second rotation draft in the first phase of the picks where then you just get countered out by the Camille this time around. And we know Hauntzer plays a number of things that are good into the Rumble. You can take the Renekton, you can take the Camille, you can take a lot of different things. You can take the Kled. He's been playing that a lot. So I think just taking the Rumble early is setting yourself up to get counterpicked and destroyed.
Very much so. But then again, we can move into the gameplay itself. Echo Fox was able to mount a couple early leads throughout this series that was mentioned by the casters, and we have to make note of that. Again, they at least were able to build leads against one of the top teams in the league. But then it was very clear that you get to that mid game and they don't really seem to know exactly what to do. Here, choosing to hard commit to a Baron in a Baron fight at 21 minutes into the game.
I'll be honest, I just have no idea what the shot calling is for Echo Fox. It feels like there's very little strategic depth to their choices. It felt like, okay, Camille has gotten to a point where it's going to snowball on the Rumble, so we want to force around Baron with our 5. They get the TP in, and rather than backing off and taking the teleport advantage and kiting out to the top side a little bit into Bjergsen and maybe laying down a zoning equalizer and kiting out and using some ultimates to disengage the fight and take your global advantage, they just hard commit to the fight. And this is what seems to happen when I say there's no depth, is like there's one call and that's it, and that's what we're doing. We're finishing Baron. We're turning. And they have a hard time adapting the call in the middle of the action. And this is an example where you're on the back foot, but the gold is relatively even.
Absolutely. And then even within that fight, and then in particular, the final fight which the casters broke down there at the end of the game, you see their inability to deal damage to these tanks. And then without having a front line of their own, they're just on the constant retreat. And you've got a Kalista getting half health by a Galio while doing absolutely no damage in return.
And that's the thing, is the Kalista needs a little bit more time before you get to some armor pen. And while she's not like a hyper scaling champion in any means, if the other team has 2 armor items completed and you have 2 AD items completed in a Runeans and a Blade of the Rune King, but you don't have your Last Whisper yet, you need to wait for that next half item power spike. And they just don't seem to play around these kinds of things very well at all.
A player of the game going to DoubleLift this time around on the Jhin. Again, we have some suggestions of how you deal with Jhin, but if you don't go ahead and follow through on those tanks, then things like this happen. A 5-0-12 lethality build out of Jhin here. Very strong performance out of DoubleLift today.
Yeah, able to snipe out a lot of people in that game, and that's just the thing, is you have 4 squishy targets. Only one you don't want to hit is an Alistar, and that's only really with his ult up. So he was able to pick up a lot of kills.
As well, Bjergsen cresting that 1,000 kill mark. So we'll take another look at the all-time leaderboards. DoubleLift, his teammate, as well as Sneaky and Wild Turtle, all 4 of our members over 1,000 still playing in the LCS. And, you know, D gone through the question of Bjergsen, what does this, you know, mean? What does this speak to you as a player? And in my opinion, it just speaks to the longevity of his career. Once again, if you're hitting this kind of a kill mark, it just speaks to the fact that you've been a starter, you've been a consistent top performer in a league for a substantial period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And the next closest there you see is, I think, Darshan, about 150 away, and he's the first mid laner to do it for Bjergsen.
Yeah.
And the next closest behind him was, I think, Pobelter at 850, which, I mean, they've actually been playing roughly the same amount of time. Both of them have been playing in NA since season 4, so you got to give your, you know, tip of your cap to Bjergsen, the fact that he's 150 kills with what would probably be his closest competition.
Exactly, quite a bit of separation there. And of course, as was mentioned, they finished the week 1-1, do clinch that playoff. So although they're probably not too happy about being out of the first place discussion, at least as of right now, we'll be happy to have clinched that playoffs, knowing that they got 2 weeks left to get some work done in terms of maybe shuffling back up into one of those bye slots. Do you think that this TSM, though, moving towards the playoffs, yesterday we said they were the best team in the league. Do you think they are still that while not being represented in the record?
I would say, just in terms of potential, you know, yes, I think that they are, if everything, they figure out the meta, they figure out what they want to do with it, they will be the best team in the league. But when there's a volatile meta, I don't think TSM has ever been a team that adapts quickly. You even saw, you know, Bjergsen in his interview referencing the Galio. It took him a little while to figure that out. It was a meme at a point with like, oh God, TSM picked Galio again.
Right.
But now it's like, oh God, they picked Galio again, then we're going to get smashed. And I think, you know, you give them enough time, 7-14 will end up the same way, where it's like, oh my God, here's TSM with Maokai again, but it's just not the case right now.
TSM grabs the victory, and that wraps up our first series, but we've got more coming your way. Up next, Team Envy takes to the Battle Theatre versus FlyQuest. Don't go anywhere.